So here's what I'll suggest is my favorite ordering, is we're going to first write a stub, days and month, that will take a year and a month and return always 30, generally not correct. Then we'll modify our next day routine to use that stub, and then right away we'll test it. At this point, we won't have done anything that will actually change the outputs from what we were getting before, if things are correct. But we're now restructure the code in a way that all we have to do is improve days and month, and then we've got the correct answer. The next thing we'll do is modify days and month to be correct except for leap years. I'm putting off leap years as long as I can because I think leap years are really annoying. But they're also a complexity that only comes up occasionally, and we can get really close to the correct answer and know that we've got all the structure of the code and everything in good place, putting that off. So I'll do that. Then I think it's a good idea to test again. So we're going to do the testing again in step 5. And it would have been perfectly okay to do the testing using days and month. I think it's easier to do it using next day, since I can just keep rerunning the same tests that I did for step 3. Now I've got to the point where I really can't put off leap years any longer. So I'm going to do the leap years next. And I'll write a helper procedure is leap year as step 6. And I'm going to test that separately. That's another step that you could argue, well, I could test that using days and month or using next day. In this case, is leap year, there are enough special cases that it makes more sense to test that separately to me. And after I've done that, I should have a fully correct solution. I could test it separately, but I'm pretty confident in the rest of my code at this point. I'm going to jump right ahead to step K and run all the test cases. So this is the order I'd recommend, but there's plenty of other orders that make sense. One thing that would certainly make sense would be to move the leap year stuff to the beginning. If you like leap years and don't want to put that off, easy to do that separately first. The other thing that could happen is instead of using the next day test, use the days and month test. That would be perfectly reasonable as well. So there are lots of correct answers to this question. The property that they should all have, all the correct answers, is that you're writing small bits of code that you can test independently as you go. You don't want to be writing a lot of code and not being able to test it. That's one of the most important things to learn as a developer, is to think of ways to structure your code, to organize the way you build code so you're able to do meaningful tests as you go and see the code incrementally get closer to the solution that you need for the end. As you get more confident as a programmer, you might skip some of these steps. But part of my motivation in asking this question is when I tried to solve this problem myself, I had a bug in my solution because I didn't do these steps carefully enough. And I tried running all the test cases and they all failed. And debugging it took a lot longer than if I'd followed this pattern. What I'm going to encourage you to do as you develop your solution is to write code to run all these tests as part of your solution. And what I hope will happen if you do these steps testing as you go, when you finally get to step K and run it on all the test cases, it will magically all work correctly the first time. Except it won't be magic. It'll be the result of building things in a systematic and careful way.